Hello, I'm Eileen Berg. I'm the CFS Quality Assurance Director, as well as your HIPAA Privacy Officer and your Corporate Compliance Officer. So welcome. After reviewing all the slides that you've just watched, I just want to review a little bit. So what is corporate compliance? What does it mean to us? It means that as employees of the Center for Family Support, we comply with all the laws and regulations, both on a local level, federal level, and state level. So we really comply with all the requirements based on us being a Medicaid recipient. So what does that mean for us as a whole as an agency? All of the policies and procedures that we've designed focus on both prevention, detection of any type of abuse, misuse, and fraudulent use of Medicaid benefits, which also means that if we do something wrong in any way, if we collect money for services that were either improperly provided, incorrectly provided, or falsely documented, we have to return all that money. So what does that mean for you as employees? Some of the specific things we've given you examples of, I'd like to highlight two particular things. One is providing false information. Typically, we can bill for services based on the service delivery documents. So if you're writing down data for goals for the individuals you serve that are not correct or that really weren't done, that would represent Medicaid fraud. Another thing that is scrutinized by government and ourselves is any false documentation on your time and attendance records. So another thing is, as staff, are you properly trained? Do you have the required education, experience, credentials, and qualifications to provide these services? As well as, are we as a whole, and you as the staff representing CFS, are you presenting these in an ethical manner? Are we promoting the high quality of care to be the agency of choice? We've given you several examples in the slides that you've read of what not to do. So more specifics for you as an employee of CFS. We want you to be an active participant. And what does that mean? You should actively participate in the service planning, for their service plans, for their rehabilitation plans. You are the people that know our individuals the best. You also need to be qualified, which means for you, you need to attend the trainings that we schedule you for, and you need to maintain your own educational credentials. You also need to implement the plans. You need to deliver the services specifically delineated in the service plan and the rehabilitation plans. And you need to be honest about it. You should only document what you've actually done with the individuals you've served. You should date and sign them on the day that you actually deliver the services. You also need to be complete. There are a lot of forms that we ask you to fill out. We ask that you fill in all the required elements of all the forms. In simplest terms, nothing should be blank. You need to be accurate, which means that when you date your entries, it needs to be the correct full date. You need to put your full name, your full signature, and your full title. You also need to be timely. In the slides that you reviewed, we talked about contemporaneous. The simplest way to think about that is you need to record the data for the individuals you serve at the time the service is provided or immediately thereafter. And we're all human, we make mistakes. So what do we do to correct those errors? We showed you the slice method, and that's what you should be using. Anything other than what we've talked about just now or what you've read in the slides would be considered Medicaid fraud. So I want to just talk about what that means for you as an employee. If you do anything that would be considered Medicaid fraud, at CFS we have a zero tolerance policy, which means if you've intentionally written or provided fraudulent documentation, or you've said something that's been false to your supervisor, a family member, the individual, it means that you will be terminated from your employment. In addition, there are significant consequences that can occur from the government. There are very high fines, and it could mean prison for you. If you are unsure of anything regarding corporate compliance, Medicaid fraud, the services that you provide for us to the individuals we serve, my best advice is to speak to your supervisor. You can also speak to me as the compliance officer. You should report any possible fraud. We're not asking you to know specifically if it's fraud, but if you think something could be misuse, abuse, or waste of the services or Medicaid dollars, you are obligated as a mandated reporter to speak to your supervisor or myself as your compliance officer. And the last point I want to make is you should do the right thing because it's the right thing to do and it doesn't matter who's watching. Thank you all for your attention.